Mic test. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Let's just get right into it. I will be introducing today. Hello. I will be introducing our speakers today. First, we have Mr. Stephen Brown, the CEO of National Canadian Council of Muslims. Monsieur Stephen Brown du Conseil national des musulmans canadiens, s'il vous plaît.
Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Est-ce que vous pouvez m'entendre ou c'est mieux comme ça? Comme ça, c'est parfait? OK, merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Brown, and I am the new CEO of the National Council of Canadian Muslims. Today, I'm pleased to join Sameer Zuberi, Liberal MP and chair of the Liberal Muslim Caucus, as he calls for a special stream for Uyghur refugees to Canada. Bon après-midi. Mon nom est Stephen Brown, le PDG du Conseil des musulmans nationaux du Canada. Aujourd'hui, je suis très content de joindre le ministère de Parlement Sameer Zuberi et le président du caucus musulman quand il appelle pour une voix spéciale pour les réfugiés ouïghours au Canada. The Uyghur people are a Turkic ethnic group who are natives of the Xinjiang province of Canada. They refer to their home as East Turkestan, or more simply, the Uyghur region of China. The Uyghurs are predominantly Muslim and have been subject to widespread human rights abuses by the Chinese government since 2014. According to Amnesty International, this has involved the internment of as many as 80,000 Uyghurs in nearly 1,200 camps, and cases of forced labor under the threat of physical violence, sexual abuse, and torture. As many as 83 companies are directly or indirectly involved with selling goods produced from Uyghur forced labor, including Apple, Zara, Nestle, Microsoft, Amazon, and others. Last year, Canada's House of Commons voted overwhelmingly to pass a motion declaring China's treatment of its Uyghur population a genocide. Today, Muslim leaders from across Canada, including Uyghur leaders, have come together in Ottawa to meet with parliamentarians from all major parties to call on the government to take action that builds on that motion. We want to see the government. We want to see the government take action by passing Bill S-204 and Bill S-211, introduced by the Senate as one unified bill that includes both reporting and prohibitionary provisions around forced labor in East Turkestan or Xinjiang. Further, we believe that the bill should include an amendment to the prohibition while providing an exception for companies that can prove their products are not tainted with forced labor, as is done in the United States. This way, companies can still engage in trade if they provide clear evidence that their products are not tainted with forced labor. Passing this legislation would mark a significant step forward in removing forced labor from Canada's supply chains and opposing the ongoing genocide of the Uyghur people in a specific and meaningful way. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brown. Next, we have the Executive Director of the Human Rights Advocacy Project, le directeur exécutif du Human Rights Advocacy Project. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Mehmet Tohti. I'm the Executive Director of Uyghur Rights Advocacy Project. And today, more than 200 Uyghurs now gathered in front of the Parliament Hill to echo the initiatives taken by National Council of Canadian Muslims. Just call upon the government of Canada to take some action, start to take some action, because nearly 2 years passed since International Subcommittee of Human Rights released a report with a recommendation and asked the government of Canada to take action on Uyghur forced labor. And almost 19 months passed since the parliamentary unanimously voted for Uyghur genocide with the emphasis of Uyghur forced labor. And the Standing Committee of Foreign Affairs and International Trade released the report with 15 points recommendations on March 12, 2021, with specific emphasis on the ban of the products made by the use of Uyghur forced labor. It is almost 18 months since then, and we have not seen any concrete action taken by the government, while the United States of America and the European Parliament passed legislations and banned those products made by the use of Uyghur forced labor. And if we visit any stores, any shopping centers in Canada, and we can see that plenty of goods produced by the use of Uyghur forced labor are grabbed by the consumers, knowingly or unknowingly. And the government of Canada should start to act, and the government of Canada should strengthen the CBSA to tackle the importation of goods made by the Uyghur forced labor and to strengthen their capacity to stop and seize those products. If you visit any the major the Canadian brand store, just like I don't like to give names, and we have a number of companies already being investigated by the Canadian Ombudsperson for Responsible Enterprise. And so it's time to act, and Canada should not be used as a dumping ground for Chinese government for the products made by the use of Uyghur forced labor. And the Uyghur Rights Advocacy Project strongly advocates for that, and also we strongly support the MP Sameer Zuberi's motion to admit or adopt more than 10,000 Uyghurs to come to Canada, because those Uyghur refugees already fled from the genocide, and they are in unsafe third countries that face some transnational repression by the Chinese government, and it is our legal obligation to take action and help those vulnerable people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mehmet Tohti. Next, we have MP Sameer Zuberi from the Liberal Party. He is the chair of the Subcommittee of Human Rights of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and he's also the co-chair of the Parliamentary Friendship Group of Uyghurs. Thank you.
Thank you, Kavsar, and everybody for taking the time to be here today. To the new CEO of National Council of K-Muslims, thank you for being here, Mr. Stephen Brown, and also to Mehmet Tohti from the Uyghur Rights Advocacy Project, thank you for being here. What we've heard thus far is extremely powerful, and it's incumbent on us as Canadians and as citizens and as people of conscience to act, to do something around what's currently occurring. Bonjour à toutes et tous. I've heard testimony while being a member of the Subcommittee of International Human Rights 2 years ago. Testimony from survivors, concentration camp survivors, from lawyers, former Canadian diplomats. The testimony that I heard and my other fellow parliamentarians heard was unconscionable. It was extremely disturbing. We heard about forced labor. 1 million Uyghur currently in concentration camps. We heard about children being separated from their parents permanently. We heard about unspeakable crimes against humanity, the abuse of women in ways that we don't want to repeat because they are horrible, nightmarish. And it's exactly that I had after hearing the testimony. Nightmares. Staying up at night after 2 full days of extremely powerful testimony. And it's something that we must all be aware of. And that's why I had one shot. I had a slot for a private member's motion or a bill. I could have put anything forth, and I chose to put it forth on this issue, to resettle 10,000 Uyghurs here in Canada. Why? Because not only are they people fleeing and seeking refuge, they're also facing compounded, in addition to this, there's an unfolding genocide. Thus, it's incumbent upon us to do something. In May 2022, a Wilson Center report was published and indicated that the government of China has practiced transnational repression in 44 countries from 1997 till 2002. That led to 1,574 Uyghurs and other Turkic minorities to be refooled or to be deported and detained back to China. Today, when that happens, they are thrown into the camps, into forced labor, to produce cotton goods, to produce tomato products, 20% of the world's cotton goods is produced in the region, the Uyghur Autonomous Region, Xinjiang, in China. 35% of tomato products, our ketchup, our tomato sauce, I love pasta, comes from this region, likely tainted by forced labor. Recently, in August, we heard the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet. She published her report after being sit on a desk for 1 year. She finally published her report 13 minutes before she stepped down. The report said, and despite having extremely limited access, the report said that these allegations that you are hearing about right now are credible. And despite having extremely limited access and the diplomatic language of the United Nations, that these likely rise to crimes against humanity. That's serious. That's serious. And so M62, which is calling for the government to welcome 10,000 refugees, 10,000 Uyghur and other Turkic minorities fleeing from third countries, because we cannot, unfortunately, stop what's happening in China today. The government of China has to choose to do that on their own. And once they stop, we will take no issue. But they have to choose to do it on their own. What we can do is we can help people in other countries, such as Turkey, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and others. Help resettle them here so that they have a safe refuge. Canada has a proud tradition of welcoming refugees. Each and every year, we welcome 63,000 refugees. We have a proud tradition of doing that. These people have crossed the Rubicon and have nothing else to turn to and contribute vigorously to the Canadian economy. We want these people here. We've made special programs in the past for Yazidis, for Syrians, Afghans, Ukrainians, Hong Kongers, human rights defenders. Now we need to make one for Uyghurs. So I'm calling on my fellow parliamentarians to vote for this motion, vote in favor of it, whether or not in my party or across the aisle. I believe this will happen, that we will have success. The first hour of debate is October 26th, and the second hour will be in December and January, and we'll vote, at which point the government, then, the onus is on the government to see this through. Donc, merci beaucoup, merci d'être ici. Thank you.
This concludes the press conference. Thank you so much to our speakers. And now we will be taking questions, please.
We know that that most are tuning in virtually and by camera. So we thank people for being here today, for taking the time out of your day. We hope that you will carry forth what you've heard into the spaces where you're working, going to school, and in your interactions with civil society. Merci beaucoup. Merci d'être ici. Thank you.
And there are no questions online, so thank you very much.